Hello friends and enemies, welcome to or back to Happy for Now. It's me, Isabel, here with my reading stats and highs, lows, all that stuff from the month of February. I had a really good reading month, honestly, like way better than I ever expected it to be. So that's exciting. I struggled to pick lows, so that's exciting. Overall, it just was an interesting month. I read a lot. I'm also going to give you my fanfiction word count. Read a lot of fic in the span of not a lot of time. Most of this fic was read between the 14th and the end of the month for not a lot of time, is what I will tell you. But first things first, let's talk about those stats, and you can get that number there. I read 15 books this month for a total of 4,959 pages. My average rating was a 3.8, and it was approximately, I was really close to 33 hours of audio. I read 5 titles from KU, and everything I read was an adult title, so you don't need any of those demographics. Format-wise, though, I read 8 ebooks, 7 audiobooks. And then I read 7 new to me authors and 1 for sure debut. One I read, I'm not sure if it was a debut or not. So there's that. And then, yeah, our fanfiction word count for the month was 300,000, basically. I think I was like a couple hundred off from that. I'm fine. We're thriving here, okay? We're doing our best. We're doing our best. But yeah, I read a lot. I am predominantly reading Bucky Barnes fic. And if you want to know more about that, I don't know, leave a comment. I can talk about it. I won't review fics because that's weird. But I'm always happy to share, I guess. But yes, I have a fic spreadsheet. Yes, I'm tracking what I read on the fic spreadsheet because I have to. I have to know what I read. I'm a nosy girl. I'm a girl who likes her stats and likes charts and different things. And the charts are very boring in the fanfiction because it's all the same pairing. It's fine. Well, there's some variation, but for the most part, it's the same. So there's that. All right, let's talk about my lows because I have one that I think is going to upset some people. But the more I thought about it, the more I had to put it on the lows. So first things first, I read A Very Mountain Man's Valentine's Day by Shaw Hart. This was a freebie I got. This was so ridiculously predictable, which is not a bad thing, but it was almost to the point of bad predictability that I just think it was kind of disappointing at the end of the day for what it was. I would have liked maybe 50 more pages to develop the story a little more. I don't regret reading it, but it just is one of those things that's man, this was not great. Nor was it, again, absolutely trash. None of my lows are something that I'd be don't read it if you have it already. But they're just kind of that thing where I'm they exist. They sure do exist. They sure are books that I consumed. So yeah, that one was it was so predictable and so just very much the title. I don't know. I didn't hate it enough that, both of these are books, when I get to the other one, that I wouldn't not pick up other ones in the series potentially if I was just really not sure what I wanted to read. So there's that. Then... this is the one that might upset some of y'all, so big deep breaths. It's okay. I promise. It's going to be okay. Sinners Anonymous by Sam Sketcher. So, May and I got wrecked this at that little Valentine's Day event we attended at Joseph Beth in Lexington. And it was to feed our Bucky love interest. And no. But oh my goodness. So, this is in the vlog you're getting on Thursday, me reading this book. I was still so confused. Now... did I also add book 2, which is a duet for one of the brothers? I think it's Rafe's book. The next 2 brothers' books are both duets. So I added the next one to my KU TBR list because I'm going to read it. Because I spent half of this book going, WTF is going on? What are we doing here? I spent the other half of it being this is so silly. This is the silliest thing I've ever read in my life. And on top of that, it has some weird fat phobia in it. And surprise weird dementia diagnosis in it, which is a type of dementia that doesn't exist. It is a thing that can affect your dementia, someone's dementia, but it's not a type of dementia. And that was interesting to me to read. I was what is happening? And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is a thing and this author is not American. I don't know where she's from. It's not listed anywhere. So yeah, I had a time with Sinners Anonymous. This is a not unrecent setup in mafia romances. Rory is engaged to Angelo's uncle, and he decides he kind of takes a liking to her, but he also doesn't trust her because he thinks she's a gold digger. Things come out, of course, she's not a gold digger. There's a lot more to it and to why she's marrying this uncle, which the whole sale is that she's a virgin. Is she? Maybe. Kind of, situation. But anyways, Angelo kind of takes a liking to her and starts to kind of poke around and find out what's going on, and then decides to save her from said uncle, and in doing so takes back over their part of the Cape in Washington that they run. His family kind of abandoned it when his parents died. And it was there were moments that I was like, this is really interesting and different. And then there were moments where I was like, this is the most stereotypical mafia romance I've ever read in my life. And then there were moments where I was like, this is terrible. I felt a range, like the range of emotions reading this book. Again, it is not the absolute worst thing I have ever read. I want to read book 2. I think the writing is very digestible. I also feel like there's an issue, somewhat, not the writing. I just think this book had like some plotting issues and pacing issues overall. But I also was sold it as a thing that it was not. It was not the thing I was told it was. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So that's a thing. But I really want the scarred brother that we meet in this series, like this one's book. So I'm going to end up reading all of them so I can read his book. I'm positive. But yeah, this was just like so weird. This was such a weird reading experience. At one point, I was messaging May about it because I was like, I want you to read this so we can talk about it. But I was like, but I don't think you're going to like it. I was like, you're not going to finish it. I was like, you will either finish it in one sitting or you will not finish this book. So I don't know. It was a weird time. A time was had for all, though. Next, my surprises. We have A Pack for Winter by Elena Lee. This is a very, like, normal people Omega-verse, and I really liked that, which is why it surprised me. I wasn't sure if that would work for me or not. I feel like a lot of Omega-verse are very, like, rich guys and, like, poor girl, like, just more dystopian. Just a lot going on there. And this is, like, it's called the Cozyverse, and it is literally a cozy Omega-verse. It is so sweet. It's so cute. It's so fun. Yes, our heroine is named Ivy Winters, which is a contestant on Drag Race. It's fine. We're going to consider it an homage, I'm assuming. But this was just really fun overall. I think it was just a really refreshing Omega-verse to read. I had recently read, in December, Pack Darling, and like that's a definitely darker toned Omega-verse. So I think like switching it up and reading this was a nice change of pace for me and a way to like read a different type of Omega-verse. But yeah, I really enjoyed this and it was just a fun time overall. And I love a regular people book sometimes, And on the regular people trend, I read Bass Ackwards. This is a longtime KU TBR list book for me. And I'm excited that I finally read it. I really had a fun time with this. This is, again, normal people. Our heroine is dealing with a ailing hoarder grandfather. And our hero is a boss. And the romance starts off really backwards. This is definitely not a dark romance, even though it starts like a dark romance. Basically, she needs a day off, and he says, that's fine, you can have it if you bend over this table. She bends over the table. They bone. They enter into a negotiation to get her more pay and giving him an hour of her time a week. And it also builds up to them having a relationship. I think it would have really, really benefited. Anyways, it's one of those books that I think, like, it's hard to sell to people. But if it sounds interesting to you, try it. But again, remember, it is not a dark, dark romance. This is like what I would call dark light, kind of. Because really the darkness is the beginning of the book and that setup, that slightly, it's consent, but it's questionable consent, I would say. It's not an enthusiastic consent situation. Both of them develop feelings for each other. They work through it, We do have a bit of a third act breakup that makes sense in the story, and they come back together, and it's a great time. I think this is just really fun. It's very interesting read. It's so different from a lot of things that I've read, and that's part of what I think makes it such a good read and such a fun book to read. So there's that. I do think if it interests you, it's worth checking out. If nothing about it sounds appealing, I would skip. Then we have The Fake Boyfriend Fiasco by Talia Hibbert. I am working on Talia Hibbert's backlist this year some. I don't have a ton to read, but this was one of them, and it was my members' pick this month, so they got a vlog for it. And this surprised me, because it has been very split amongst my members who have DNF'd it and didn't enjoy it, and those of us who have enjoyed it. For me, personally, I enjoyed this. This has a house party setting, so that's not for everybody. Not everybody loves a house party, but I do love a house party in historicals, and I love a house party in a contemporary like this. Basically, their first meeting is them kissing to save him from this girl that will not leave him alone. So he gets our heroine who's like a badass tattoo artist apprentice situation to agree to go with him to this house party because he likes her and he doesn't know how to handle it, and he's a retired footballer, so he doesn't know how to handle that necessarily. He's not very good at this, so he convinces her to go with him, and it's them on the house party. I giggled multiple times listening to this audiobook. I do think the audiobook is really good, and I don't know if that's part of the split also. The audiobook was fantastic and really engaging as a read, and I just really liked their dynamic. I think it was really interesting. It was really funny. There's a moment he walks in on her about to get herself off, and she like jumps on top of the box that has her toys in it, and he's like, what are you sitting on? What's going on? And then he's like, I'll help you. Just one of my favorite things that ever happens in those sort of situations. And then it does have a third act breakup. But again, I also think it serves the story, and it allows our hero to get his shit together, because he needs to get his shit together for her. And he does so, and they come back together, and it's fantastic. I really, really had a good time with it, and I think it's one of those books that, like I said, it's either going to work for you or it's not. It does have 2 epilogues that are really, really cute. So first we have a pegging epilogue for his birthday, and then we have a bonus epilogue with their kid, and he's like, the kid is like him kind of, and her, like the perfect mix. But, you know, he's like, I knew you were the one, basically, when I met you. And the kid's having this, like, I know they're the one moment that's really precious and cute. And he's like, I got you, kiddo. I'm going to handle this. So I just truly had a really fun time with this. And I think it's one of those ones that, like I said, it's either going to work for you, it's not. But for me, it hit the spot of what I needed. And it felt different from a lot of contemporaries with my contemporary burnout that's happening. Which is weird, because, again, I read this and it's contemporary. But it's, like, not... I think the house party vibes and some of that stuff just made it feel less contemporary in a way. But yeah, I had a fun time with this. Then my highs, we've only got 2 this month. And one of them is probably going to surprise y'all. So I finished Married to the Double finally. I took my sweet time with this. I got an arc of it at the end of December. And it took me forever to read this book. Not because it was bad, but because I didn't want it to be over. Like, I did not want this book to end. I can't express to you how much I didn't want this book to end. This is a throuple romance. This is MMF, and it's kind of some enemies to lovers-ish. Our heroine is forced to marry the devil, who is a gargoyle hero, and he does some questionable things in the beginning in an attempt to protect her and to keep her safe. And she also has this friend who we meet in the last book, Ben, who's a demon. And honestly, I think this is what put me on my Bucky Barnes rabbit hole to an extent, because Ben gave me Bucky vibes to an extent. And he, like, had no family left. He had made a family with the dragon and everyone in the previous book, but also really, really liked her and couldn't, like, confess because he knew she had to marry him. He knew she had to marry the devil. And in this whole thing, our devil character, Remy, is trying so hard to push everyone how he wants them to be, and absolutely no one goes into this the way he wants it to go. Like, it always backfires, and it's really funny because he's like, why didn't that work? Why does no one do what I think they're gonna do? And I'm just like, I love when that happens, because, like, they're human. Of course they're not gonna do what you think they're gonna do always. But yeah, this was really, really steamy, really sweet, and also just really romantic overall. I had so much fun with this book. This was like a 6-star favorite of the year for me. So there's that. If you've been reading Lillian Lark, you're going to love this. If you aren't current, I recommend getting current and just diving into this one, because I had such a good time, y'all. And then the big surprise for the highs. Like, I don't know that you're ready for this one. Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. I told you all my reset. I'm doing a cowboy romance video coming to you later this month. And I started on that video in February because I have to. Otherwise, I will not finish the video. Well, I read Done and Dusted. I read Done and Dusted in under 24 hours. And then I finished Swift and Saddled within another, like, less than 24-hour span as well. So we're just going to include Done and Dusted for here. But here's what I have to say. I totally get what people don't love about some of these books. And I get, like, critiques I've read. But for me, I felt so seen by Emmy's, our heroine's ADHD stuff sometimes. Like, the impulsivity in certain things. Very seen by that. I also really enjoyed the setup for the brother's best friend / childhood, like, known each other since kids situation happening here between her and Brooks, because that was really fun. There are a couple moments in this book that I was just like, damn, I'm in. It doesn't take much to get me sometimes, you know, and that's okay. But I just really liked this. I felt like they had really good chemistry. I thought the setting was really, really well done and evocative of the setting it was supposed to be in, right? Like, that was really enjoyable to read. And I think at the end of the day, this just surprised me so much because I didn't know that I would like it this much. I wasn't sure. I'm very much a cowboy hesitant cowboy reader, I guess. It is not my favorite, like, trope setup. I have read a handful of cowboy romances in all of my romance reading. Again, I just don't reach for them. They're not my go-to. And, like, that's totally okay. And I don't think there's a problem with that, but it's just weird sometimes when you're like, let me try this. And I'm, like, literally, as I'm filming this, reading book 3. So I'm literally current on a series within about a span of a week. That's how much fun I had with this. I do think there are elements of this that could have used, like, some improvement, but I also think, like, a short, quick read like this, like the audiobook's under 8 hours, I think, for book one at regular speed. Like sometimes we have, like, I feel like as a genre right now, romance has lost the art of a good quick read, and this is exactly what that is, which is why it's in my highs. Like, I just had a good time. It gave me a lot of the romance vibes I'm always looking for. It gave me a lot of spoony moments. It gave me a giggle. I got a kick out of things unfolding. I enjoyed the exploration of Emmy's anxieties around barrel racing again. I also liked the fact that both of them did ranchy cowgirl stuff. Cowperson did cowperson stuff, we'll call it. I think that was just fan-freaking-tastic to read, and I think that's what made this so dang enjoyable to me. So yeah, I had a good time with Done and Dusted, and I'm excited to read more Lila Sage, and I kind of get it now for that one. We'll see if I feel that way about others as I read them. I don't know if I will, but Lila Sage is definitely in a spot where I'm like, I will read more of these as a non-cowboy romance reader. That's everything for March. If you want to see every book I read, they're on my Instagram stories and my Goodreads and Storygraph. I do think Storygraph is up to date right now. So they're all there. If you want to tell me in the comments how your February reading went, what did you finish, what did you love, what did you hate, please do. I would love to know. If you don't do any of that, you can leave me the little smiley face with the cowboy hat emoji. Because yeehaw, y'all. Your girl's reading cowboy romances. Not a thing I don't know. This is just not what I expected. So you can do that down below. You can find links to all these books, links to my friend anywhere on the internet that I am down there. And I will catch you all in just a few days in my next video. Bye.
Already packing, come with me. I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get away, this is what we waited